So today we're celebrating our 160th anniversary of St. James UCC. St. James has been part of my life for 80 years. I was baptized by Reverend Schmall, received my foundation of my Christian education through Sunday school, remembering the longevity for many of you of Lillian Schnell. I was confirmed by Reverend Schmall and married by Reverend Hipschman. In 1980, I became the first woman ever to be elected to the consistory. And you want to know why? Well, the story behind why is because so many men had said no. But records do show back in the 1940s when Harvey Schnell was in service, Lillian Schnell did fulfill his period of time. Faith through the generations, 1863 to 2023, has brought us where we are today. We commend those who had the foresight to establish the organization of St. James 160 years ago. The early settlers expressed their desire for church services, and so it came to be that a congregation was founded in the year 1863. The name of the church was St. Jacobi Evangelical Congregation, Town of Mimi, and a pastor was shared with St. Mark's Church, Town of Mosul. Founding families included William Fiddler, William Lorville, William Smith, John Knorr, George Wolfe, August Minor. And we are blessed today to have descendants from the John Boney and the William Lorville families as members of this congregation. The first several years they gathered in the home of John Boney. In time, a schoolhouse was erected and was also used as a gathering place for church services. In 1866, it was decided to build a church. Mr. John Boney donated 2 acres of land, and John Knorr donated building materials, and other members helped with the construction. The small frame church was 24 by 34 feet, and for 36 years, this church served the members of St. Jacobi. And on the 10th of June, 1901, a windstorm that was very severe damaged the building beyond repair. A new church was built in 1902, and this is the church you are worshiping in today. And the greater part of the church beyond these archways to the back is pretty much where the church stood. Now, Pastor and I did a PowerPoint presentation. We worked together on it. We just ran a short trial run, so I'm not technology savvy, and I hope this all works. If it doesn't, bear with me. And I hope I click on the right way, Pastor. It was the left side, right? Okay, so here's a picture of the church. Down. Okay, we don't have the picture of the church right here, but that's all right. It's coming. So I'll continue on. In the early years, transportation to church was limited. Members walked, came on horseback, or rode in horse-drawn carriages or wagons. A barn was built with a section for shelter of the horses, and feed was supplied by the farmers. There was a special boarded-off stall for the pastor's horse, and the farmer with the best crops supplied the hay. The barn was also used for church picnics and gatherings. Here we go. We have several pictures from earlier years of members working together. Try this again. Right here? Okay. Thank you. I have help. Okay, we can click again, Pastor. There's a group. You can see the barn in the background. And now here's the picture of the church that I was looking for earlier. This is what it looked like in 1902 after it was built. And when we talked about the older pictures of people working together, there were some slides that showed men all alone and women all alone. And I am told historically, way back when for worship service, the men had sat on one side of the aisle and the women sat on the other. And the women were blessed to have the children with them. Our congregation has been tied with many larger denominations. At first we were part of the Evangelical Church. In 1934, the Evangelical and Reformed Churches united, and we became St. James Evangelical and Reformed Church. In 1947, the congregations became affiliated with the North Wisconsin Synod of the Evangelical and Reformed Church. Then in 1957, this body again united with the Congregational Christian Churches, giving us our present name, St. James United Church of Christ. We've had two major building projects for the church. The one was done in 1958. A new section was built onto the east end of the church with an indoor stairway and the main entry from the south. At the west end and to the south would house a kitchen and include indoor restrooms. Take note, we did not have indoor restrooms until 1958. The upper level allowed for additional room for the Sunday school classes, the extra seating space for church services, a new chancel, altar, pulpit and lectern, and a space for the organ and the choir loft. So when you think of what the addition was, it was this part and this part. And then down below the kitchen and the extended fellowship area. Now the back entrance to the east was renovated with our next addition, which took place in a later time. So for the 1958, there was a cornerstone laid picture. And this is Reverend Schmall, who did the cornerstone at that time. I believe that cornerstone is on the east-north side. Charlie's shaking his head, am I right? Okay, thank you. Okay, and members of the congregation gave their time and talents as they worked with the main contractor, who was Ray Maurer. Reverend Schmall was instrumental in the design of the project. However, he died in his sleep from a massive stroke at the age of 53 from complications and before the addition was completed. Dedication of the addition was held on August 9, 1959 in the afternoon, led by Reverend Merlin Hipschman, and then there was a time of fellowship and refreshments. And they celebrated that in the new fellowship hall down in the basement. Now we move on. In 1994, the church received a memorial gift requesting formation of the Handicap Accessible Fund. On August 8, 2002, or excuse me, on April 8, 2002, construction began. The addition provided a large elevator, handicap accessible bathroom, storage room and expanded narthex, a parent's room, 2 classrooms, and a covered carport. In the addition, 2 new furnaces, roofs, siding, carpeting, air conditioning were also done. The laying of the cornerstone was done on October 2nd, 2002. And we have a picture of the late Don Local in the cornerstone, and along with Reverend Kesting placing the cornerstone. Dedication of the handicap accessible addition was held on April 6, 2003. It was coordinated and led by Pastor Reverend William Kesting. Following the service, an open house and time of fellowship were held in the afternoon. And you can see various pictures of the people who attended the dedication. Some of us may have changed over the years. Remember Violet Seifert? And now the young people are recognizing themselves. Now we we move on to the steeple. St. James continues to be the landmark of Spring Valley. It has awareness of times past, present, and future. The steeple can be seen from all directions, north, south, east, and west, reaching outward with an invitation to worship the Lord. The bell is a continuous link from the construction of the church in 1902. The bearings in the bell need to be oiled regularly. Because of the narrow construction of the steeple, a slim person is needed to fit through the two small openings under the bell. Quote from Clarence Bayless: "Once you're up there, you can see quite a far ways through the slats." After the celebration of our 150th anniversary in 2013, our church was invited to do a presentation to the Centerville Settlement meeting. Charles Bauer became intrigued with St. James and decided to build a replica of the original church built in 1902. He spent many hours on this project. He even climbed the bell tower and took a picture of the bell. And this is the replica you can see. And there's the bell. Now we move on. This is a photo of the inside of the sanctuary before the 1958. Note the picture of Christ and the cross on the altar. Today this picture hangs on the wall in the overflow room above the communion table, and the cross is on the table. And we have there we go. And there's the picture hanging over there, and the cross is on the communion table. So how grateful we are that that was preserved from the original 1902 church before the renovation and remodeling. Over the past years, St. James has been proud to celebrate special events and anniversaries. Silver Jubilee was in 1927, and this is the celebration I really found interesting, and I think Pat Kleinmans probably remembers when we were going through church records. But it was the 25th anniversary of the church built, and what a celebration they had. We found in the financial expense reports that there were 15 cases of beer, 400 cigars, and the brilliant orchestra played for the afternoon festivities. Then there was the Diamond Jubilee of 75 years, that was in 1938. The Golden Jubilee, 1952, was the anniversary of the church built in 1902. The 90th anniversary in 1953. And the July 21st anniversary was the celebration of remodeling and the church addition. Now we go to the centennial anniversary. The celebration took place at church with two services, one at 9 o'clock in the morning and the other at 7:45. A new meal was served in the tent. There were activities throughout the day. The shed served as a great facility for brat and hamburger stand, refreshments, and a fish pond game for children. And I remember having a conversation a while ago with Jamie Henschel, who said he remembers that fish pond when he was younger. This is what the churchyard looked like for our 125th anniversary. Church services were held at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then following the service, a banquet and confirmation reunion was held at Cedar Lake, and we have various pictures of that time and gathering. There was a program and a bridal show followed the mealtime, and then a time of fellowship was enjoyed by all. And we have several pictures of that. Our bridal show. Linda Lutzke, I think you were a model. Tammy was a model. And I think Kathy Stoltzman wore her own wedding gown, correct? So neat pictures to look at.
Mary Ann,
Yes?
my daughter Amy also wore,
Yes, she did.
what they Gladys Nichols.
It was either, I think she wore either Mrs. Marjorie Coleman
Oh, okay.
or Betty LeDuc, one of those two. I think now when I think back, I think it was Betty Lou Stress that she wrote.
Okay.
And then we move on to our 150th anniversary. Our first celebration was March 3rd, and it was German Heritage Sunday. Our speaker was Reverend Friedrich Trost, minister from the Wisconsin Conference, and special music was provided by, and Dorothy, I apologize, I can never say that German word, so I'm going to say the German Concordia Singers. And that organization was actually organized already in 1860, and Bill and Dorothy Miller were members of that singing group, and we were so grateful to have them. And the youth fellowship hosted a chili dinner, and the Sunday school, there was a big sale. And that Sunday, 216 people attended the church service. And our guest hosts in the attire were Richard and Sarah Blitzer. So we thank them for that. Now we move on to Mother's Day, May 12th in 2023. And the Sunday school children did the service. Several students shared their family heritage as members of St. James. Some were direct descendants of the founding fathers back in 1863. 114 people attended the church service. Then we move on to June 23rd, 2013. Bring your tractor to church Sunday. This outdoor service was planned in recognition of the rural agriculture community. The majority of the settlers surrounding the Spring Valley area were farmers. A tractor parade was held through the valley with 27 tractors, 6 garden tractors, and 1 small milk truck, and I think that was from C.F. Heckman, probably. Pastor Kesting conducted the service and did the children's message. David Heckman read the scripture, and former pastor, Reverend Robert Meyer from Chicago, was our guest speaker. Music was provided by Jerry Krieger on his accordion. Cindy Sohn directed the Tone Chime Choir and organized and conducted a church band, and a luncheon and time of fellowship followed the outdoor service. It was a day of history with a country outdoor atmosphere. And 140 people attended the service. Now, if you remember Reverend and Les Meyer, this is a picture of them when they came here in 1972. And I think a lot of the young people were impressed by their vehicle at that time. Then we have a picture of Reverend Kesting and Reverend Meyer. And we also have a picture of Reverend Meyer's family, his daughter Rebecca, his wife Les, and Reverend Kesting. Now we move on to July 21st, 2013. It was the confirmation reunion. Our guest speakers were former pastors Reverend Jay Lemke of California and Reverend William Klossner of Florida. Special music was provided by the church choir under the direction and accompanist of Cindy Sohn with Lori Heckman. She played on the flute. Then Randy A. Sohn and Val Spindler did an organ duet. And following the service, a dinner and time of fellowship was held at Millville Supper Club in Kiel. And both of the pastors kind of related some of their stories when they were with St. James. 177 people attended the church service, and 162 guests were served at the family-style dinner. This is a picture of the pastors and our committee. Picture of Chris and Bill Klossner. And the sisters, the Lorfeld sisters. Picture of our pastors, Fritz and Cheryl Lemke and Carol Culp. Charlie and Pastor Klossner. And I just want to share with you that Chris Klossner's pastor's wife, had died on April 5th of 2014 at the age of 59 after a 2-year battle with cancer. Then we move on to October 20th was our Mission Fest Sunday. And that was the last Sunday of our events for our 150th anniversary. Guest speakers were former pastors Reverend Merlin Hipschman of Spooner and Reverend Charles Barnes of New Hampshire. And special music was provided by the choir and a quartet with Allison Wasmer, Katie Sohn, Dan Sohn, and Daniel Kleinhans. 163 people attended the church service, and the ham dinner was served. And here's a picture of Reverend and Seal Barnes. And the other picture was of Reverend Hipschman and his wife Karen. And Reverend Hipschman died on July 15, 2015, at the age of 80. Now we move on to the Vision of Hope. And this picture got out of context, but it's still a good picture. This is getting ready for Mission Fest, when we still served in the fellowship hall before COVID. And Pastor Patrick thought it was a good picture because you don't see men peeling potatoes very often. We have Tom Kleinutz and Bill and Thomas Heckman. So that picture really goes further on to Mission Fest, but it's still a good picture. So we go to the Vision of Hope, and it was started in 1994 after a generous donation from Melvin and Ellen Wagner Foundation. Ellen's maiden name was Amykin. She grew up in Spring Valley and received her Christian education at the church. She was baptized and confirmed as Ella L. Amykin. Records show that the Amykin families were active members at St. James. Ellen acknowledged her local roots and the heritage of ancestors buried in the church cemetery. And this is a picture of her at a very young age. Her picture was on display in the narthex, and nobody knew who she was. So you have to be old, like 80, and then you remember. Ellen and Melvin Wagner were married on October 1st, 1927 by Reverend Friedrich Fierst, pastor of St. James. Having no children, they established a charitable trust. Melvin died in 1969 of Lou Gehrig's disease. Ellen died in 1993 from complications of Alzheimer's disease. Ellen cherished the longevity of friendships and members and neighbors in the valley, and thus included St. James to be recipient of continued funding from the Wagner Foundation. Now we talk about the Ladies' Aid. The Ladies' Aid was officially organized on October 8, 1952. 31 women of the congregation became charter members. Maintaining and furnishing the church and kitchen were one of their priorities. As a fundraiser, a bazaar and bake sale was held in the month of May from 1953 to